Hi and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to learn how to crochet this cropped daisy granny square cardigan. It is not so beginner friendly, but I'll take you in step-by-step tutorial. So if you're a completely new beginner, this might be challenging, but I hope you'll be able to learn along the way. It's cropped, it has cropped sleeves, and it's also cropped. I really enjoyed working on this cardigan, and I hope you will too. You can support me by purchasing the printable version on my online shops or following along with the written pattern that will be available on my blog. For this tutorial, you're going to need yarn. The yarn I'm using is milk cotton yarn, and it's a cross between medium yarn and light yarn. I can't really say it's a medium yarn. It's slightly thinner, but it's also thicker than a lightweight yarn. So you can substitute this one with a worsted weight yarn instead of a lightweight yarn. So you'll need it in three colors. I'm going to use this blue, the yellow, and the white. And then you'll need two hooks, a 4mm and a 4.5mm, or a US number 6 and the 4.5mm crochet hook. Then you'll need a pair of scissors, and if you're using a different hook and a different yarn, you might need a tape measure. So that is all. Let's start our video. So to begin, you're going to start with a daisy granny square, and for the center part, we're going to start with a magic ring. So you can either chain 4 and then join to the first chain, or just start with your normal magic ring, then chain 3. This chain 3 will count as our first double crochet, yarn over, go in the same magic ring and place 11 more double crochet. So you should have a total of 12 double crochet for the very first round. When you have 12 double crochets, including the first chain 3, you're going to slip stitch to the third chain on our very first chain 3, then chain 1 and cut yarn. You're going to leave about 6 to 10 inches just to weave in your ends. Then you can pull this loop at the center to close that gap. So for round 2, we're going to pick our white color, then go in any stitch. I prefer just to go in the very first stitch that I finished my previous round. Then attach your yarn and chain 3 or chain 2, then yarn over, go in the very same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go back in the very same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, then yarn over, pull through all the 3 loops. So that's our 3 double crochets together. Then chain 2 and do the same in this next stitch. So insert your hook in that next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You should have 2 loops on your hook, then yarn over, go in the same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, then yarn over, in the same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. So when you have 4 loops, you're going to yarn over, pull through all those 4 loops, then chain 2. I'm going to show you the repeat one more time. Yarn over, go in the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go back in the same stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go back again in the very same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. So when you have 4 loops, you're going to yarn over, pull through all those 4 loops, then chain 2. So repeat that, working 3 double crochet together in each stitch, separated by a chain 2 space, until you finish your last stitch here. And when you're through, you shall have 12 clusters of the 3 double crochets together. So after you're done, I'll meet you when you're joining to our first stitch here and then proceeding to the next round. When you reach the end of your round, you shall have 12 clusters of the double crochet 3 together. Then you're going to go in the very first stitch and work your slip stitch. Chain 1, and now you can cut your yarn, leaving about 6 to 10 inches to weave in. So for the next round, you're going to attach our yarn, our third yarn. So you're going to do that with a standing double crochet. So make a slip knot, then insert your hook, and you're going to do this in any chain 2 space of our round 2. So insert your hook in any chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through. When you have 3 loops, going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, then yarn over, pull through those last 2 loops. So that's our first double crochet. Then add 2 more double crochets in the very same space. So we have 3 double crochet in that space. Then you're going to work a treble, 3 treble in the next space. So yarn over twice. When you have 3 loops on your hook, you're going to insert your hook in the next chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 4 loops. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, then yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, then yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. Then add 2 more trebles. So yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Then add another one. Then chain 2 and add 3 more trebles in the very same space that you placed these previous 3 trebles. So you have your 3 double crochets in the first space, then 3 treble, chain 2, 3 treble in the next space, and in the next space you're going to work 3 doubles. So place 3 double crochet, then 3 double crochet in the next space. So I have a corner where we place the 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles. So we're going to do another corner, or our second corner in this next space, which is 3 treble, chain 2, 3 treble. So yarn over twice and work it 3 treble crochets. So I'll go faster at this point because I believe you already know how to place trebles. Then chain 2 and place 3 more trebles. So I've finished my second corner. And to turn it to a square, we need 2 more corners. So what you're going to do, you're going to place 3 double crochet in the next space, then 3 double crochet in the next space. Then in the third space, you're going to work another corner, which is 3 treble, chain 2, 3 treble. Then turn. In the next 2 spaces, you're going to place 3 double crochets in each. And then in the next one, place the last corner, which is 3 treble, chain 2, 3 treble. So I'll meet you when you only have 1 space remaining, and then we can finish our first round of the square pattern. So I went ahead, finished my 4 corners. I only have 1 chain 2 space remaining, and in that last chain 2 space, you're going to place 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Then close your round with a slip stitch to the very first double crochet. Then you're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches until you reach the next space between the clusters. Then slip stitch in that space. Then you're going to start our round 4. So for the round 4, you're going to chain 3. Now if you want your square bigger, this is the round that you're going to repeat all the way until you achieve the desired size of the square. But this is going to be our last round for this pattern. So after chaining 3, this is our first double crochet, yarn over, and add 2 more double crochets in that space. Then in the next chain 2 space, which is our corner, we're going to add another corner, but this time you're not working treble, so you're going to place only 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. We have our first corner. Then in each space between these clusters, so the chain 3 group is called a cluster. So we have this cluster, and then this cluster, and then this cluster, then this cluster. So in between the clusters, you're going to place 3 double crochets until you reach the next chain 2 space. So I have my 3 double crochets in between the clusters, and then when I reach the next chain 2 space, I'm going to place another corner. So we already have 1 corner, and in this next corner we're going to repeat what we did here: 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. And then when you're done with that corner, we're going to repeat what we did here. So in between the clusters, we're going to place 3 double crochet, and then skip the next 3 double crochets, work another 3 double crochet in this space, then 3 double crochet in this space, and then when you reach the next corner, you're going to work 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, then 3 double crochet in each space between the clusters. When you reach the last corner, you're going to do the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and finish your round with 3 double crochet in the next space here, then 3 double crochet in this very last space. So I'll meet you when you're joining our last round, because you're not going to join it with a slip stitch this time because of the nature of our seam, or how we're going to join the squares. So at the end of your round 4, you're going to cut your yarn. At the end of this last stitch, do not chain, do not join, just cut your yarn with about 6 to 7 inches remaining. Then pull this yarn through the last loop. Take your darning needle, then insert your yarn in that needle. And to join it with an invisible join, you're going to take your needle, pass it through the second stitch. Remember, we had a chain 3 here, which was our first stitch. So in this next stitch, you're going to go through both loops at the top, then from the back to the front, then pull it to the front. And you're going to go in the very last stitch. We have the 2 top loops and this front loop. So you're going to go only in the first, or the front loop. Don't go through the back. So go through the front loop and this loop at the very front of your work. Then pull the yarn, and you're going to pull it until it resembles other stitches. Then you're going to go in that chain 3, insert your hook from the front to the back, the top chain, and pull your yarn. So at this point you can just weave your yarn at the back of your work. So go ahead, weave in all the other ends. This is how our square looks like. So you can go ahead, finish all the ends, then make 59 more squares. So we need a total of 60 squares because you're going to have 24 for the sleeves, 12 on each sleeve. If you want longer sleeves, you're going to make more squares in a multiple of 4. So when you have longer one, you're going to have 16 on both sides, so that is 32. But I'm going to have 24 for the sleeves, 16 for the front panel, 8 on each side, and then 20 for the back. So that is 20 plus 16 plus 24, which is 60 squares. When you have your 60 squares, you'll now join the stitches together. So to join the panels, I'm going to start with the front panel, which will be 8 on each side. So I'm going to have them 2 per row and then 4 in a column. So I'm going to start with the column seam or the vertical seam, and we're going to start with our first 2 squares here. We're going to use the flat surface or the flat slip stitch join for this one. So to join our first 2 squares, you're going to take the yarn that you're going to use for the seams, and then you're going to put it behind your work. Then remember, we had 2 chains here at the corners. So you're going to start at the chain, the last chain. Remember, the first chain is to this bottom row, and the next chain is aligned to this row that you're seaming or you're joining. So go in that chain 1, then go in the next chain stitch of this other square that is closer to this row, insert your hook. Then you're going to bring your yarn and yarn over, pull through those 2 stitches. Then that is what you're going to repeat. Go in the next stitch, working in the back loop only. Do not work on these front loops. So go in that next stitch, back loop, and then the stitch on your left hand side, back loop, then yarn over, pull through those 2 stitches, then yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. Do the same, go in the next stitch, back loop only, on your right square. If you're left-handed, this is going to be your left hand square. Then go in the next square, back loop only, yarn over, pull through the 2 stitches, then pull through the loop on your hook. Do that all the way until you reach the next chain space. So I'm going to repeat that, then I'll meet you when we have the chain 2 spaces on both sides. So after you've worked your seam and you reach the next chain space, you're also going to work in the chain 1 that is next to this row. So we have this chain 1 and we have this next, the second chain. Do not work in this second chain. This one will work on when you're working the horizontal seam. So work on this first chain space and the next chain space, and the next chain, not chain space, the next chain of this other square. So insert your hook on both chains, yarn over, pull through the stitches, pull through the loop on your hook. Then to join it to the next row of squares, you're going to go, remember we also have 2 chains at the corner, So skip the chain that is along this row, go to the next chain along this row and insert your hook, then go in the next chain, insert your hook, then yarn over the hook, pull through that chain, pull through the next chain, then pull through the loop on your hook. So from here you're going to repeat what you've been working on. Go in the next stitch, back loop only, then yarn over, pull through those stitches, then pull through the loop on your hook. Go in the next one and do the same. So for this row all the way until you finish your 4 rows or 4 columns, 4 columns, you're going to do that. Just join your squares. When you reach the next chain 2 space, work on the first 2 chains, then take your next square, locate the next 2 chains, do the same, and then finish your last row on these last 2 squares. Then we'll meet when you're working on the horizontal seam. So when you reach the end of your vertical seam, after working in the last chain spaces or the chain stitches, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn, leaving a tail to weave in at the end, and pull it through. So our vertical seam is complete, and these are you're going to do all the vertical seams. So to do the horizontal seams, you're going to turn your work. You're going to start with the bottom seam. So you're going to repeat what you've been doing here, but the challenge might be how to cross over. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then you can finish all the other seams. So we're going to start with our yarn behind our work. Then with your 4.5mm hook, you're going to insert your hook in the chain stitch that is adjacent to this row. So the right hand square. If you're left-handed, this is going to be the left square. Then go to the right square, insert your hook, then yarn over and pull it through those chains. You want to make sure that you have a longer tail that you're going to use to weave in at the end. Then go in the next stitch, back loop only on both squares, then yarn over, then pull through. Pull through also the loop on your hook. And repeat this all the way until you reach this join here. So I've gone ahead with my rows or my row, and then I'm having the last, you remember the chains that we skipped at this corner and on this corner. So you're going to go in the first one on the right hand side, insert your hook through the back loop only of that chain, then go on this other chain, also back loop, then you're going to yarn over and pull through all those chains, and then you're going to slip stitch or you're going to chain 1 above that join. So that is the only difference that you're doing on the horizontal seams. After working your last chains or on your last chains here, you're going to chain 1 above the vertical seam. Then you're going to go ahead with your slip stitches. So go in the next chain here and do the same on this other side. Then you work the flat slip stitch. You can now go ahead working only in the back loops of those chains all the way to the end. So do that. When you reach the end, you're going to chain 1, cut your yarn, and do the same for the next horizontal seams. So when you reach the end of this horizontal seam, you're going to work in the last chain stitches. Do not work on the chain stitch that is adjacent to this row. Work on the very first chain stitch after your last stitch here, and go in those chain stitches, work your last slip stitch, then chain 1, cut your yarn and pull it through. So go ahead, finish the other seams, and then we can work on the other panels. So once you're done with one front panel, go ahead and do the same for the other front panel, because you're having two front panels that are identical. And then for the back and the sleeves, this is a guideline you're going to follow. So for the back, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares horizontally, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 squares vertically. Remember, the front we had 4 vertically and only 2 horizontally. So do 5 horizontally and 4 vertically for the back panel. Remember, we are starting with these vertical seams. So finish for your first set of 2 squares each. Then pick the next 4 squares and do the next vertical seam. And repeat that until you have 5 squares horizontally. Then continue with the horizontal seams. Then for the sleeves, you're going to have 4 squares across or horizontally, and then only 3 squares vertically. So start with the vertical seam, start with the first 2 squares, then the second 2, then the third 2, and add the next set of 3 squares vertically, then add the last set of 3 squares, then come to the horizontal seams and do that. So make 2 sleeves. We already have 2 front panels and then only 1 piece for the back panel. Then we'll come together and join them at the shoulder seams, side seams, and finish our work. So to join our shoulder seams, we're going to take our back panel. We have 4 vertically and then 5 across. So we're going to take the 5 across, that is going to be our shoulder line. We take the 2 front panels, and then we're going to join these 2 together like this. Then come back and do the same for this other side. Join 2 to 2 at the back. So you're only going to have 1 square at the neck area. So remember, we are still using our flat slip stitch join. So find the chain that is adjacent to this shoulder seam. Insert your hook in that very first chain, go in the other side, insert your hook, then work your first slip stitch. Go in the next stitch, back loop only. Do that for this other side, back loop only, then work your slip stitch. And repeat that all the way until you reach your seam here. I've reached my seam and I have the chain that is remaining on this side. I'll go in that chain, then come back in this other side chain stitch, work your next slip stitch, and then you want to go in this slip stitch join. So just insert your hook in that, come to this other side, you want to insert your hook, you can go in that chain that you just worked, then work your next slip stitch, then proceed to this other side, go in that next chain 1, come to this other side, the chain stitch that is remaining, work your next slip stitch. And this is how you're going to go about it until you reach this other side. So since we don't have any slip stitch join on this edge, we're only going to finish our work in the chain 1 here and the chain 1 here. So once you've done that, you go repeat the same pattern for the other shoulder side, and then we'll join the sleeves. So we'll attach our sleeve to our main body. So this is what I was saying. Once you reach the last, after working in the last chain stitches, just chain 1 and pull your yarn. So our first shoulder is complete. You're going to turn to this other side and do the same. Bring your front panel, then attach it here. So you can either start from the edge here or start from the neck area. I prefer starting from this very last edge. Do the same. Once you're done, we'll meet and join the sleeves together. So once you're done with the shoulder seam, you're going to take your main body and then bring your sleeve, then line it up so that two squares are on the front and then two squares are on the back of your piece. So this is how it's going to look like. And then you want to attach your yarn at this point, work all the way to the shoulder seam, and then proceed to these other two squares, continuing with your flat slip stitch join. And when you reach here, you're going to join it as we did the shoulder. So after working on the chain stitch on this side and the chain stitch on this side, you're going to work on this seam. So insert your hook in this last stitch here, then go also in this last stitch here, then work your flat slip stitch. Then proceed with that all the way to the end. Once you're done, you do the same on this other side. And then after you're through with the shoulder, attaching the shoulder to the main body, we'll work now on the side seam. So we'll work the side all the way to our sleeve, then continue to the sleeve all the way to the end. So finish that, attach your sleeves to the body, then I'll just show you how to go about the side and the sleeve seam. So once you've joined the sleeves to the body part, you're going to fold. Now you work like this. So you have the front panel and then the back panel. And then you're going to join from the bottom part all the way to the armhole area, and then proceed with the sleeves all the way to the cuff. So go in this bottom square on your right, then insert your hook on that next chain that is closer to this side. Sorry, go to the other panel, insert your hook on that chain stitch, then yarn over, pull through both the chain stitches. So just working the flat slip stitch all the way to the armhole area. So when you reach the armhole area, you're going to go in this seam on the back panel and then the seam on the front panel. Then work your slip stitch. Then we have this square for the back and then this square for the front. So you're also going to go in that chain stitch, go in this other chain stitch, mark a slip stitch, then insert your hook in the seam for the sleeve where the sleeve joined the back panel, and then the seam for this other side where the sleeve joined the back panel. So insert your hook in both seams, then make a slip stitch. And from here you can now go ahead with your slip stitch, back loop only on the sleeve. So just proceed with your work all the way to the end. So when you reach the end here, we have now two chains. And since you're not going to join this one to any other square, you'll work your last slip stitch join on the second chain. So we have chain one and then the second chain. So work on both chains, this side as well on both chains. So finish that, and then we can now make the cuff, the neck ribbing, and the bottom ribbing. So once you're done with all the seams, we're going to turn our work and work. We start on the bottom border And for that, you're going to pick your 4mm crochet hook and your yarn of choice. For me, I'm using white for all the ribbing to make a slip knot. Then insert your hook. You're going to attach our yarn with a standing double crochet. So yarn over and insert your hook in the chain to space of this square. Then yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Bring your yarn inside your work, then yarn over, pull through that last 2 loops. Then you're going to double crochet in the next stitch and continue working 1 double crochet in each stitch until you reach the next chain to space. So when you reach the next chain to space, you're going to place 2 double crochet together. So yarn over, go in the first chain to space, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Then yarn over, go in the next chain space, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. And you're going to yarn over, pull through all those 3 loops. So that is what you're going to do in every chain space. So continue with 1 double crochet in each stitch. And then when you reach the next chain spaces, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook in the first chain space, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Then yarn over, go in the next chain space, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Then yarn over, pull through all those 3 loops. So you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around of your bottom ribbing or your bottom border here until you reach the last chain space here. So when you reach the last chain space, after working your last stitch, you're going to work a double crochet in that last chain space. Then we'll proceed to row 2. So I went ahead and finished my first row and I have a total of 149 stitches. So your stitches should be an odd number. If you have an even number of stitches, you can go back to this place and work 1 single crochet in each of the chain spaces, or you can just decrease in these second last 2 stitches just to have an odd number of stitches, because that is what you're going to need for the next row. So for row 2, you're going to chain 3 or chain 2, just chain 2, then turn. The chain 2 will count as your first double crochet, and then you're going to work a back post double crochet in this next stitch, followed by a front post double crochet, then back post double crochet in the next stitch, and front post double crochet in the next stitch. You're going to repeat those 2 stitches alternating between a back post double crochet and a front post double crochet until the end of your row, ending with a back post double crochet in the second last stitch. So in reach here, you're going to work a back post double crochet in the second last stitch, then you're going to place just a normal double crochet in the very last stitch. So continue with that row, then I'll meet you in the next row, row 3, and then you can repeat row 2 and row 3 until you achieve your desired length of the bottom ribbing. So at the end of your row, you should have a back post double crochet in the previous stitch and a double crochet in the very last stitch. So for row 3, you're going to chain 2, then turn your work, and from here we're going to work a front post double crochet in the next front post double crochet. So you're going to insert your hook behind that post stitch, then work a double crochet, and the next stitch you're going to work a back post double crochet. So bring your hook from behind that stitch, then pull your yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2. Then work a front post double crochet in every front post double crochet and back post double crochet on every back post stitch. So repeat that all the way to the end, ending your row with a, you're going to end it with a front post double crochet in this second last stitch, then work a normal double crochet on the second chain. So we have chain 2, so work it on that second chain, work a normal double crochet, then turn. And for row 4, we're going to repeat our row 2 pattern. So work a chain 2, then back post double crochet, followed by a front post, back post, front post, back post, front post. So repeat those 2 rows until your bottom ribbing measures your desired length. I'm going to continue until it's roughly 2.5 inches to 3 inches. Then we'll proceed now to the front, the front ribbing. So I went ahead and finished 5 rows of the bottom ribbing. You can go ahead and make more, just ensure that you finish it on the odd number of rows. So if you can add 2 more. So the next part, you're going to work on this front panel, the front right part. So you're going to work on this row. Now chain 2. The chain 2 will count as your first double crochet, then yarn over, place another double crochet around that double crochet, the very last double crochet stitch, then 2 double crochet around each of those bottom ribbing rows. So at the end you should have 10 double crochet stitches at the bottom ribbing part. Then you're going to place a double crochet in the chain space of this first square, double crochet in the next double crochet stitch. So you're going to place 1 double crochet in each of these granny stitches. Remember, we didn't have any chain spaces or chain 1 between the granny clusters. So you're going to place 1 double crochet in the first 3 granny stitches, then continue placing 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way until you reach this next chain space. So when you reach the next chain space here, you're going to yarn over, place a double crochet in that chain space. Then you're going to work a double crochet in this vertical seam or the horizontal seam. So yarn over, you can either go through that seam directly, or if it's too hard to go through that, you can just go through this space or this next space here. Place a double crochet, then jump over to the next chain 2 space, place the next double crochet. So this is what you're going to do when you reach the seam places. So continue placing 1 double crochet in each stitch until you reach the next seam. So when you reach the next seam, you're going to yarn over, double crochet in that chain space, then double crochet in the seam, then double crochet in the next chain space. Then continue placing 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way until you reach your last seam. So when you reach here, you're going to work a double crochet in the chain space, 1 double crochet in the seam, and 1 double crochet in the next chain space, and stop there because you're going to work the neck ribbing along this last square. I went ahead and finished my row, ending on this chain 2 of the last square to your neck seam. Then you're going to chain 2 and turn. I have a total of 65 stitches. So I'm going to chain 2, then turn to our second row. And for the second row, we already have our first double crochet. We're going to yarn over and work a back post double crochet in this next stitch. Place a back post double crochet, then a front post double crochet in the next stitch. By this point, I hope you know how to work the back post and the front post double crochets. Back post double crochet in the next stitch, front post double crochet in the next stitch, and repeat this all the way until you have only 1 stitch remaining, alternating between a back post double crochet and a front post double crochet. At the end of my row, I've worked my back post double crochet in the second last stitch, and for the very last stitch you're going to work a normal double crochet. So locate the second chain because you chained 2, so find the second chain and place your double crochet. Then you're going to chain 2 and turn. So for row 3, after working our first double crochet, which is the chain 2, we're going to work a front post double crochet in the second stitch. Then back post double crochet in the next stitch, and repeat this, placing front post double crochet in the front post double crochet and back post double crochet in these back post double crochets. So continue that, and then I'll meet you when you're working your very last stitch, and then I'll show you the row repeats. After working your second last stitch, which is a front post double crochet, you're going to yarn over, locate the second chain and place a double crochet in that very last stitch. Then you're going to chain 2, and for row 4 you're going to repeat our row 2 pattern. The chain 2 will count as our first double crochet, so you're going to work a back post double crochet in the next stitch, then a front post double crochet in the next stitch. So repeat the row 2 pattern all the way to the end, then turn your work and repeat the row 3 pattern for our row 5. We'll finish our work on row 5. You can add more rows if you want a wider ribbing for the front, or you can just leave it at row 3 if you want a shorter ribbing. But I'll work 2 more, so I'll add 4 and 5, then we'll finish this side and start on the opposite side. So after 5 rows, you're going to chain 1 and just cut your yarn. Then turn to the opposite side. For the opposite side, we're going to attach our yarn in this last chain 2 of the last square to our neck area. So grab your yarn, then attach it with a chain in that stitch. Make sure it's secure, then you're going to chain 2 for our first double crochet. So that will be our first double crochet for this side. Then yarn over and double crochet in this seam here. Then double crochet in the next chain space. So for the rest of this first row, you're going to double crochet in each stitch all the way to the next chain 2 space. Place 1 double crochet in the chain space, 1 double crochet along the seam, and 1 double crochet in the next chain space. Then continue with double crochet in each stitch, double crochet in the chain space, double crochet in the seam, double crochet in the next chain space. Work double crochet in each stitch. When you reach the last square, you're going to place 1 double crochet in that chain 2, then 2 double crochet around each double crochet stitch till you reach the end. So when you finish your first row, we'll meet in the next row. So at the end of our first row, you're going to chain 2, which will count as your first double crochet, then turn. And for row 2, we're going to start with the back post double crochet. So yarn over, go around that post, pushing it to the back of your hook, then work a double crochet. The next, work a front post double crochet, insert your hook behind that post, pushing the stitch to the front of your work, and then work a double crochet. Next, work a back post, insert the hook in front of your stitch, pushing it to the back, then work a double crochet. And you're going to repeat working front post and back post double crochets all the way to the end, ending with a double crochet in the very last stitch, but the second last stitch is going to be a back post double crochet. So do that, then I'll meet you when you're finishing your row and starting your third row. So when you reach the very last stitch, remember the second last stitch is a back post double crochet as well as the second stitch. So yarn over, and in the very last stitch, find that last chain stitch and place a double crochet. So your row 2 is done. For row 3, we're going to chain 2, then turn our work. The chain 2 will count as the very first stitch of this row 3. Then you're going to yarn over and place a front post double crochet in that next stitch, and then the next stitch is a back post, so you're going to work a back post double crochet, front post double crochet in the next stitch, which is a front post, and you're going to repeat this, working front post on every front post and back post on every back post all the way to the end, ending your row with a front post double crochet. Remember, our second stitch is front post, so our second last stitch is going to be a front post. So continue with your row 3 until you reach the end, ending your row with a double crochet in the chain 2. Then you're going to repeat row 2 and row 3 until you have 5 rows. If you had 7 rows on the opposite side, you're going to have 7 rows on this side. I'll finish it at 5 rows, and then I'll meet you when you're working the neck ribbing. So your last row on that side is going to be the 5th row, which will end at the bottom of your work. You're just going to chain 1 and then cut your yarn. And then turn now to the neck area. And for the neck, you're going to start it from the left side if you're right-handed. And if you're left-handed, you're going to start it from the right side. So you're going to take your yarn and then attach it on the last double crochet, around that last double crochet. You want to make sure that you leave at least a longer tail to weave in at the end of your work so that it's secure enough. Chain 1. Then you're going to add 2 more chains for our very first double crochet. So chain 2 more. Then you're going to yarn over, and around that same double crochet, you're going to work 1 double crochet. Then add 2 double crochet around the next double crochet stitch. Working over the tails of the yarn here, but you can just leave some tail to weave in at the end because you can't just trust working over that tail ends. Then 2 double crochet around the next double crochet stitch, and repeat this until you reach the last double crochet stitch here. At the end of the last double crochet, you'll have 10 double crochet stitches along that row because we had 5 rows for the ribbing. And then you're going to continue with your work, placing 1 double crochet in the next space, then 1 double crochet in each stitch of this next square. So place 1 double crochet in each stitch until you reach the next chain space. After working in each stitch until you reach your chain space, you're going to place 1 double crochet in that first chain space. Place 1 double crochet in this seam that joins the front and the back parts, or the front and the back squares. You want to double crochet in this chain 2 space of the back part square, and then 1 double crochet in this next seam that joins the back squares. Then 1 double crochet in the next chain 2 space. Then you want to continue placing 1 double crochet in each stitch at the back, 1 double crochet in the chain space, 1 double crochet in the seam, 1 double crochet in the next chain space, and then 1 double crochet in the next seam for the shoulder. So just continue, and then when you reach this last space for the back square, I'll show you how to continue in that area. So when you reach this other side of the seams, you're going to place 1 double crochet in the chain space, 1 double crochet along that back seams, 1 double crochet in the next chain space for the back, the last back square. Then you go to the square of the shoulder seam, place 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet in the next chain space, and then you want to continue with 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way until you reach the last space here. Place 1 double crochet, then you're going to place 2 double crochet around each double crochet stitch all the way to the end. So I'll meet you when you're working your last double crochet on this last double crochet stitch here, then we can turn to row 2. When you reach the last stitch here, you're going to work 2 double crochet around that very last stitch. I prefer to work the very last stitch at the top of that chain 2. Just look at it and work your last stitch there. And then for row 2, so I have a total of 77 stitches along my neck ribbing. So for row 2, we're going to chain 2, which will count as our first double crochet, then turn. So if you have an odd number of stitches like I do, I'm going to start with a back post double crochet in the next stitch, then a front post in the next, all the way alternating back post and front post, back post and front post. And when I reach the very last part here, I'm going to end it with a back post double crochet because I started with back post in the second stitch. So the second last stitch is also going to be a back post double crochet. Then I end with a double crochet in the very last chain 2. If you have an even number of stitches, you're going to start with a chain 2, which will be our first double crochet. Then just work back post double crochet in the next stitch, front in the next, back in the next, alternating that. When you reach the second last stitch, you're going to work a front post double crochet. That is the only difference. So don't be discouraged or don't be intimidated when you have an even number of stitches. So after chaining 2, we're going to yarn over and work a back post double crochet in the second stitch, then a front post double crochet in the next stitch, back post double crochet in the next, and alternate a back post and a front post all the way until you reach the last 2 stitches. So I'll meet you in the very last 2 stitches. When you reach the end of your row, I have 2 stitches remaining here, and remember I had an odd number of rows. So my second last stitch is going to be a back post double crochet. And this way I said if you have an even number of stitches, your second last stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. Then double crochet in the very last stitch, then chain 2 and turn to the next row. So your next row is going to start with a front post double crochet. So remember the chain 2 will count as your first double crochet in this row. So you're not working in the first stitch. We'll work in the second stitch, and the second stitch is a front post stitch. So you're going to work a front post double crochet, and then the next stitch is a back post stitch. So you're going to work a back post double crochet, then front post double crochet in the next front post, back post double crochet in the next back post. Repeat that alternating between a back post on every back post and front post on every front post all the way to the end. When you reach the end, you should end with a front post double crochet in your second last stitch, then a double crochet in the very last stitch. So at the end of your row 3, you're going to chain 2 and turn. Then you're going to repeat row 2 and row 3 all the way until you achieve your desired height of this neck ribbing. I might make it a little longer, so I'll tell you the number of rows that I've done at the end. Then we can proceed now to making the cuff areas. I went ahead with my rows and I've finished 9 rows in total. So those are the rows that I have for this neck ribbing. And at the end of my row 9, I'll just chain 1, cut my yarn, and leave a long tail to even the end. So our neck ribbing is complete, and this is how it looks like. So to work on the sleeve, instead of attaching our yarn here, you can do that, but I'll just attach it to this tail that I left here after joining the underarm seam. I'll just join the 2 yarns together because it's the same color, and then I can proceed with it. So what you're going to do, you're going to attach your new yarn here with a chain, and then single crochet 2 together in this space and this next space. So insert your hook in that space, yarn over, pull through. Go in the next space, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. When you have 3 loops, you're going to yarn over, pull through all those 3 loops. Then single crochet 2 together again, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. Go in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and over, pull through the 3 loops. And you're going to work this single crochet 2 together all the way until you reach the end of your rows, or the end of your round. So when you reach a place like this where you have a stitch and then in chain space, you're going to work single crochet 2 together in that stitch. So insert your hook in the stitch, yarn over, pull through. Go in that chain space, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over, pull through the 3 loops. Then skip the seam. You're keeping the seam on this round. Go in the next chain space, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. Go in the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over, pull through the 3 loops. So continue working single crochet 2 together, and then I'll meet you at the end of the round. At the end of your first round, you should have 34 single crochet stitches or single crochet 2 together stitches. They should be 34. If you have an odd number, please try and even them out so that you have an even. Or you can just go in the very first space we did. We started with our single crochet 2 together and work a single crochet. But since I have my even number of stitches, just go in the first stitch, insert your hook, and work a slip stitch. Then for round 2, we're going to work double crochet in each stitch, so chain 2. In the chain 2 will count as your first double crochet in this round. Go in the next stitch and place a double crochet, and then you want to go in each stitch placing 1 double crochet each until the end of the round. So I'll meet you at the end of the round and the start of our round 3. At the end of round 1, you're going to go in the first stitch, which is a chain 2, locate the second chain and work a slip stitch. And then for round 3, we're going to chain 2. This is going to be our repeat round until you have your desired length of the sleeve cuff. Then yarn over, work a front post double crochet in this next stitch. Then a back post double crochet in the next. Front post double crochet in the next. Then back post double crochet in the next. And alternate a front post double crochet and a back post double crochet all the way until you reach the end of your round, ending with a front post double crochet in this very last stitch. At the end of round 3, you're going to go in the very first stitch, which is a chain 2, and work a slip stitch. Then you're going to repeat this round 3 until you have a total of 7 rounds, including the single crochet 2 together round. So chain 2, front post double crochet in the next stitch, then back post double crochet in the next stitch, and continue alternating a front post and a back post. So from this round on, you'll easily see the front post stitches and the back post stitches. So work a front post on every front post stitch and a back post on every back post stitch. When you reach the end, you're going to work a front post in that very last stitch because it's a front post, and then you're going to join into the slip stitch in the chain 2. So repeat that until you have a total of 7 rounds. If you want a longer ribbing for the sleeves, you're going to add more rounds. If you want it shorter, just reduce the number of rounds. And for this sleeve round, you don't have to have a specific number. Like the front panels, we were having an odd number of rows, but for the sleeves, you can even have an even number of rounds. So continue with that. When you're through, I'll show you how my sleeves look like, and then we'll be done with this cardigan. I went ahead and finished the 7 rounds, and at the end of round 7, I'll just chain 1 and cut the yarn, leaving about 6 inches of tail to within, then pull it through the chain 1. So go ahead and weave in all your loose tails. I'll do that also, and then that will be the end of our tutorial. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. It will help push the videos to more audience and people will get to know these tutorials and use them. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and until next time, please stay safe. God bless you. Bye.